Well, hello everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ronald Wright. I want to do what is called an introduction to part two of a topic that I started with at the beginning of the year, which is referring to your golden key is your nationality. In that particular segment, I was dealing with the fact, understanding your nationality was a very, very, very important piece of information that you should obtain. And I believe in that last segment that I did, I also mentioned that when Barack Obama was president of the United States, he said in one of his speech to the public, he said, learn your nationality. Learn your nationality. So what I want to do today, before I do the actual part two to that particular segment, I want to do an intro to part two because I need to lay the foundation, because part two is going to be pretty heavy. And I want you to do some homework. Because see, I don't want you to depend on whatever I'm saying to you. I want you to go and do your own homework, because everything I'm relating to you is not hearsay. It's not some theory, but it's right there where you can put your hands right on the information and see it for yourself. That's powerful. That's more important than actually just reading or hearing someone tell you this, when you can go and put your hand on the exact same information. Because you need to be well equipped for what's going on in the world today. We've been sent here with a purpose, and in order to understand what our purpose is, we have to first understand who we are. You got to understand who you are. So we're going to start this segment off by indicating a few things to you. Now, if you are calling yourself black or African American, neither one of those terms has any legal standards. Neither. Black don't have no standard in law. Neither do African American. And the reason why black has no standard in law, Congress removed the legal term of black out of law. So just let's identify and to break that down more simpler. If something was legal at one point, but now is not legal, what do that make it? What's the status of that at this time? That would be considered to be illegal. Now, I was sent a video of a traffic stop, and it was a state trooper pulled over, an officer pulled over an individual for traffic violation. Happened to be a white lady, and she had her hands up and would not put her hands down. And he was trying to persuade her to put her hands down, and he actually said, "But you are white. We only shoot black people." Oh, he didn't stop there. He said something else. He said black people are illegal. Was there anything wrong with what he said? No, because everything he spoke out his mouth was the truth. Yes, they do shoot black people. And yes, black people are illegal whether they know it or not, because the word black has been written out of law by your U.S. Congress. But yet, in our records, on our marriage license, They got the word black sitting up their biggest day. See, all this was a conspiracy because they were working to do something that you're going to find out in part 2 of your golden key is your nationality. What they was working on. It's called an act of genociding a certain group of people to disinherit them to what really belongs to them. So in terms, the officer did not lie. And many of you may not be aware of the fact that black is no longer in law that has a legal term. It was written out of law along with another word that we're all familiar with, which is Negro. Negro and black was written out of law the same time. But on people's birth certificates, you also can see the word Negro. You can also see the word black on some people's birth certificate. And all of those terms right now is considered to be illegal. So that should be something of mine to be aware of. So you're going to need to know how to correct the record so you won't be counted as being illegal. You will not be counted as not having any standard in these courts. When Barack Obama became president of the United States, he had an interview with the Tom Joyner Morning Show. And Tom Joyner was indicating that our first black and President Barack Obama cut him off. He said, ho, no, Tom, I am not black. Black has no standing in law. But if you want to go back and get that interview, guess what? You're not going to be able to find it. Because the government had that sealed. Because they don't want you to know that you don't have no standard if you could call yourself black. Try to go and get that episode. Try to contact Tom Joyner Morning Show. You will not be able to get it. Why? Because the government had that confiscated. Because Barack Obama let a cat out the bag that they did not want to be let loose. Now, another word, or another title that we have labeled ourselves is African American. African American was never a legal term that was written into law. Let me say it again. African American was never written into law. It was never legally written into law. So you say, well then how did it come about? Well, let's take a look. Who started using the term African American? Let's give credit to who credit is due. Let's go back to Jesse Jackson. And it became what I would call a fad. Next thing you know, it became what is. Everybody identifying themselves with as African American. But just like the word black, which at once was a part of law, but has been removed. African American was never written into law. So you identifying yourself that is not recognized legally in this system. Now you take Negro, black, and African American neither one of those associate with a nationality. Just like U.S. citizen does not associate being a nationality. So all these terms we have labeled ourselves with, and what we are fighting for, has no standing in law. And this is what they want you to do, because they know that you don't know who you are, where you came from. They know you don't really know your nationality. They knew that because if you knew what was going on back in the 60s when they were doing the civil rights, when you were fighting for civil rights, which was rights that was less than your unalienable rights that you had at that time, you just didn't know how to execute it. When you went forward, well, not you, but most of your parents went forward and they gave up their nationality unknowingly and took on a status that made them less than what they were before they registered to vote. So if you have not heard that part one of your golden key is your nationality, you might want to go back and listen to that, and then come back and listen to this, and then you'll be well prepared for the actual part two to your golden key is your nationality. Now, go do your homework on what I just told you, everything I just told you. And I want to leave you with this last part, which is going to lead us into part two. So when I do part two, I have this coming very shortly. The word African or African, when they refer to African descendant, people minds at that time in the 15, 16, 17, 1800 did not immediately associate with the continent of Africa. The word African was anonymous to a word that is known as Moor, M-O-O-R, which really means dark-skinned individuals. Dark-skinned individuals. And that's going to be a very important piece of the puzzle in part two, because there is where you're going to find some very important pieces of information they do not want you to discover. Because if you ever discover that, you understand exactly who you are. You understand exactly what rights you have that is superior over anybody else that lives here in America. And notice I did not say in the United States of America. I said in America. Because if you don't know by now, United States of America is a corporation. You cannot live inside of a corporation, but you can live inside of a country. So, just for a quick overview before we end this, if you can call yourself black, Are you calling yourself African American? Or if you're calling yourself Negro, you are considered to be illegal. Whereas a few of them was written out of law, and there's one that definitely was never written into law, and that's African American. Neither one of these labels associate with nationality. So neither one of those could be used as your golden key to your nationality. On top of that, the word African, back in the 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, back in those days, did not refer to the continent of Africa, but it was synonymous with a word known as Moor. That did associate with a nationality. So until next time, I want you to go and do your homework. There's a famous verse that people like to use that says, "Study to show thyself approval." A workman that need not to be ashamed, but rightly dividing the word of truth. So you need to study to show thyself approval, so when you are approached, you can clearly identify and give sound doctrine, sound information. And when I say sound information, I'm referring to facts that anybody can go and put their hands on to accentuate whatever you are saying. That's including inside the courts also. So they cannot play games against you, with you. So I hope everyone will follow my instruction and study and research this information. Remember, it's not what I say, it's what the facts are. Because there is a case law that never was overturned. It's known as the Dred Scott decision, in which he was previously a slave and he earned his freedom and he wanted to become a U.S. citizen. He was denied, and he took it as far as to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court made a decision that no African descendant, no Aboriginals could ever claim U.S. citizenship. And when you listen to part 2, you'll be able to walk away and say, that is true. I can never claim U.S. citizenship because I am. And I'm going to leave it like that. It's because I am. You be able to hold your head up high and declare, I am. I am that I am. Thank you, everyone. Share this message with your friends, family, co-workers, leaders, because the leaders need to come together to properly educate our people, unless they are being paid to keep their mouth shut. Leave a comment at the bottom of the screen here. And until next time, let's come together as one. Thank you.